Lions at Ravens, the final game we're going to pick. It's the Monday Night Football game. Baltimore's favored by 4.5. Both teams are 1-1. For the Lions, poor Week 1 showing. They pretty much got dominated by the Packers, but then they turned around and dominated the Bears. And then the Ravens really felt like Week 1. They let one slip away against Josh Allen and the Bills, but then they beat up on the Browns last week. So both teams are sitting 1-1. Thoughts on this game?
It's going to be a really interesting matchup, seeing how the Lions perform after the first 2 weeks where they've played a high-end team in Green Bay, who are they third in Super Bowl favorites behind Baltimore and Buffalo? They're up there. They've looked fantastic through 2 weeks, Green Bay has, and kind of getting dominated by them. And then week 2, turning around and dominating your former offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears, kind of embarrassing them. That was a beatdown. And so now it's kind of a question, are these Detroit Lions, a bad performance here puts them in like 2022, 23 Miami Dolphins territory, where you're only going to beat up on the bad teams and then lose to all the good teams, or the teams at your level or better. And so this is a really good test. It's a tough test because now you played Green Bay on the road and Baltimore on the road, which is very unfortunate. That's kind of the lot you drew out of to start the season. But it'll be a great test for them. And this is a Baltimore defense that gave up 40-something to Buffalo, and so they certainly have holes. Detroit clearly can still run an offense. It wasn't all coordinator-based. Who knows what that Week 1 matchup, what the reasons for some of the issues there were. But I've got a question. I actually kind of like this question, JP, because we talk about it in basketball a lot. It's one of your bits is you'll give a number that we need to score, specifically state basketball, in order to win a game. I think that's a really good exercise for this game. What number? This is on the Ravens side because the Ravens defense has looked worse than the offense to this point. What is the number they need to hold the Lions to win the game?
28.
You think 28, and then the Ravens offense outscores? I think that's definitely doable. Given, like I said, the issues we've seen. The Lions scored how many against the Packers in the first game?
It was 14.
Yeah, but say 2 touchdowns, 10, 14. It wasn't a lot.
13, maybe.
Yeah, so I think that'll be interesting to see is how does the Ravens defense hold up? Can they hold them to 28, we'll say? And then road matchup for the Lions. The offense didn't look good on the road Week 1. How does that look Week 3?
Sure. JP, what do you got?
So Lamar Jackson is 24-2 versus the NFC in his career. They've played the Lions twice in the past. I think it's 3 years. The first one was at Detroit. They won that game off of the Justin Tucker 66-yard game-winning field goal that hit the crossbar and bounced through. They were trailing when he kicks that field goal. And then the other one was 2 years ago when the Lions were kind of bringing their way up, and it was a murder on local television because it wasn't on national television. They destroyed the Lions. They just absolutely boat raced them, and it was essentially the same makeup of players for both teams, although the Ravens did not have Derrick Henry at the time. And so I think that just helps them a ton there. Lamar, as I said, 24-2 against NFC teams. He has never lost at home against an NFC team. All the signs point towards the Ravens for me. I think this is just they've scored 40 points and 41 points in their 2 games this year against Cleveland and Buffalo. I don't see how the Lions are able to shut them down. Jared Goff has actually played well in primetime throughout his career. You think of his big-time primetime games, and they were wins in big primetime games. Aaron Rodgers' last game as a Packer. Jared Goff won that game. The Monday Night Football game we always talk about. Rams-Chiefs. Jared Goff won that game. So this is a guy who's played well in primetime. He's not scared of that. And so I don't think that argument plays, but I just don't see how the Lions stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. They're still healthy at this point too, and offensively they cannot be stopped. I really like the Ravens to win this one going away. I just want to see, can the Lions keep up? Because this is a game I don't think it matters for the Ravens whatsoever. Because for one, I don't see them losing this game. But for two, if they did, it doesn't impact their seeding necessarily in the AFC. It's not a tiebreaker. It really doesn't matter that much. But for the Lions, like in your first week, you got destroyed by the Packers. Your second week, you beat a really, we think at least, bad team in the Bears in dominant fashion. You're prolific offensively. Can you hang with the big boys? Because if you can hang with the Ravens, then I think it gives you a ton of confidence going forward. And the questions from week one maybe just are, it was week one. Packers are actually really, really damn good. They weren't ready for Micah Parsons. So I think it's just a huge test for the Lions.
Agreed.
I think all the pressure is on them. I think the Ravens are playing with house money, and to play with house money at home, I think helps them a ton. Spoiler alert, this is my first best bet of the week. I think the Ravens, 4.5 is not enough points. I don't think it is with the way the Ravens are playing offensively. I think the spread should be like 6.5.
Sure.
That's been a common theme for me today as well, but I don't see how they stop Lamar. I don't see how they stop Derrick Henry. They're not necessarily that great against the run. And if you ask me, like, who do you trust more to just continuously outscore the other opponent? Because I do think it's going to be a shootout. I don't know the total on it. I'd assume the total was probably like 65.
So you don't agree with Cromie then?
He's got
Lions
the Lions
under
going
13
under 13 points.
The total is not 65. It's 53. The Lions could very well, I think, get blown out again, as they did 2 years ago. Like I said, essentially the same roster. They're just the Ravens add Derrick Henry. I think the Ravens dominate this game. And I think, unfortunately for the Lions, they start out 1-2 with two disappointing performances against two of the best teams in football.
Yeah, I also have the Ravens winning and covering. I think the Lions are going to put up a bit more of a fight. And we'll at least be able to come away from this game going, okay, maybe they're not quite as good as last year, but they can still, like, compete against some of the top teams. Maybe not beat them, but, you know, they're right there. They have a puncher's chance. And that the Packers game where they just got absolutely, you know, dominated is more of the blip on the radar than the Bears game, for example. Because also just talking about, I agree completely that they know it's a huge game. And, yeah, I don't have them winning it, but Dan Campbell's going to get his boys ready for a big game, and they're going to be motivated and come out firing. But even with that, Ravens to cover the 4.5 for me.
I'm also going to pick the Ravens, which means we complete the three game sweep. We have all picked the same team to cover in all three games we've previewed.
Jack and I haven't disagreed once on an NFL game yet.
That's crazy.
We may need to change that. You realize we both went 1-9 last week?
Yeah, it was a bad week.
It was tough.
That means we're due for
Exactly.
9-1.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The turnaround is here.
I just have way too many questions about the Lions, and the Ravens have already shown that they're very good. I don't think the Lions have shown that. I don't think beating the Bears as badly as they did shows that you're good. It shows you're better than the Bears, but it doesn't show that you're good. So, too many questions about the Lions. Home game for the Ravens. I think 4.5 is too few. So, picking the Ravens